One spilled drink sparked a collision of worlds. Amara, a fierce-hearted Harlem artist, and Ethan, a lonely billionaire from Silicon Valley. Can love conquer society's judgments, or will it crumble under scrutiny? Stay tuned. This story will make you believe in true love. In a dimly lit corner of the Velvet Room, an upscale bar in the heart of Manhattan, New York, amber lights flickered off gleaming glassware. The soft hum of jazz mingled with the laughter of wealthy patrons, whose lives seemed perpetually bathed in glamour. Behind the bar stood Amara Jones, a 27-year-old black woman with eyes like burning embers and a smile that could melt any heart. But Amara's heart wasn't easily swayed. Raised in the gritty streets of Harlem, where dreams were often crushed by harsh realities, she had been forged into someone who valued authenticity over any treasure. Amara wasn't the type to fantasize about billionaires or flashy cars. To her, true wealth lay in small moments, a cozy family dinner, a painting born from the soul, or a genuine smile from a stranger. She worked at the Velvet Room to fund the community art classes she ran on weekends, teaching kids from her neighborhood to express themselves through brushstrokes. That night, the bar was busier than usual. A major tech conference had just wrapped up at the Javits Center, and sharply dressed guests flooded in, carrying an air of smugness and tales of triumph. Amara navigated the crowd with an artist's grace, mixing flawless cocktails while maintaining a polite smile. But deep down, she felt out of place in this world of opulence, a world she didn't belong to. Then, as if scripted by fate, a man walked in. Ethan Caldwell, 35, was a name known across Silicon Valley. The founder of Nexus Innovations, a billion-dollar tech empire renowned for breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, he exuded success. With jet black hair, piercing blue eyes, and a confident demeanor, Ethan was the epitome of achievement. Yet, beneath his polished exterior lay a void money couldn't fill: loneliness. He'd spent a decade building his empire, but the higher he climbed, the emptier he felt. Ethan hadn't planned to stop at the Velvet Room that night. He just wanted a quiet escape from the prying eyes after a long day of speaking at the conference. But as he settled at the bar, an unexpected mishap changed everything. Amara, juggling an old-fashioned, accidentally knocked over a bottle of premium bourbon, splashing Ethan's tailored vest. The crash of glass silenced the bar for a fleeting moment. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Amara gasped, her face flushing with embarrassment. She scrambled for a towel, but Ethan only smiled, a warm, disarming smile with no trace of anger. "It's fine," he said, his voice low and steady. "Maybe that bourbon was just trying to get me to notice you." The quip, though playful, caught Amara off guard. She wasn't used to such confident yet unpretentious charm. She glanced at him, trying to size him up. Was he just another smug tycoon, or something more? But Ethan's eyes, deep and soulful, seemed to tell a different story. In that moment, amid the shattered glass and the bar's hazy glow, a spark ignited. But could that spark survive the chasm between their worlds? And what challenges awaited as the outside world began to judge and test their budding connection? In the days following the bourbon incident at the Velvet Room, Amara couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. His playful quip, warm smile, and soulful eyes lingered in her mind, like an unfinished painting she longed to complete. But she reminded herself, he was a billionaire, living in a world of luxury she only glimpsed from afar. Could there be a place for someone like her in his life? One evening, as Amara cleaned the bar after closing, the doorbell chimed. The bar was dark, its lights dimmed, with only the faint hum of jazz from the speakers. She looked up to see Ethan, still in his polished suit but with a hint of awkwardness, like a schoolboy mustering courage for a crush. I think I left something here," Ethan said, scratching his head, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. Amara raised an eyebrow, hiding a smile. "Oh, really? Another bottle of bourbon?" Ethan laughed, his tension melting away. "No, this time it's an excuse to come back. I'd like to take you to dinner. Just a meal, no pressure." Amara hesitated. She wasn't used to invitations like this, especially from someone like Ethan. But something in his voice, a rare sincerity, made her say yes. "Fine. But I picked the place, and it's not some five-star restaurant." The next night, at a cozy Italian diner in the East Village, Amara and Ethan sat across from each other under the warm glow of candles. There was no Velvet Room extravagance, just the faint scent of oregano and the chatter of everyday people. Ethan, accustomed to upscale dining, fumbled with his spaghetti, a strand slipping off his fork onto the table. "Come on, you're a billionaire and you can't handle spaghetti?" Amara teased, her eyes sparkling. Ethan blushed but leaned into his vulnerability. "I'm better at coding than forks, okay," he shot back, and they both burst into laughter, their voices blending with the diner's cozy hum. The evening unfolded with stories. Amara shared about her art classes, about the Harlem kids with big dreams but few opportunities. Ethan listened, captivated, his mind far from boardrooms and million-dollar deals. He opened up about his childhood, the pressure to succeed, and the nagging feeling of emptiness despite having everything. As they left the diner, rain began to fall. Without an umbrella, they dashed through the drizzle, ducking under a small awning. Ethan pulled Amara close, shielding her with his jacket. In that moment, under the hazy streetlights, their eyes locked, and Amara's heart raced like never before. "Amara," Ethan whispered, "did you know I've never felt truly alive until tonight?" She smiled, but a storm of emotion swirled inside her. She wanted to believe him, but fear of their differences lingered. When they parted, Amara felt a strange ache, not just for Ethan, but for the freedom and authenticity she felt with him. In the days that followed, she caught herself checking her phone, waiting for his text. Ethan, in his penthouse office, couldn't focus. The image of Amara laughing in the rain haunted him, like a melody he couldn't shake. But both knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, as the outside world began to notice their story. After their rainy night in the East Village, Amara and Ethan began a delicate dance of budding affection. They texted daily, their messages short but meaningful, ranging from simple questions like, "What did you paint today?" to playful jabs about Ethan's disastrous cooking skills. Amara found herself smiling more, whether mixing drinks at the Velvet Room or guiding kids in her Harlem art classes. Ethan, in his penthouse office, was no longer consumed by numbers and reports. Instead, he daydreamed about quiet moments with Amara, her laugh, the way she tilted her head when thinking, and the spark in her eyes when she spoke about art. But their world wasn't just candlelight and laughter. Pressure from the outside began to creep in, like the chill of early winter in Manhattan. One morning, Amara opened her phone to find a gossip article online. Tech billionaire Ethan Caldwell dating Harlem bartender? The post, from a tabloid site, included a blurry photo of them under the awning in the rain. Amara's heart sank. She wasn't used to being scrutinized, and the comments below, ranging from harmless curiosity to cruel remarks about their class divide, made her want to retreat. "It's just silly gossip," she told herself, but deep down, fear began to grow. Could she handle stepping into Ethan's world, where the spotlight never dimmed and every move was judged? Ethan, meanwhile, wasn't immune to the pressure. At Nexus Innovations, shareholders began questioning his distractions. A board meeting turned tense when a longtime member, Eleanor Voss, said icily, "What are you doing with that girl, Ethan? You're the face of this company. Your image can't be tainted by unsuitable choices." Ethan kept his composure, but her words cut deep. He'd never seen Amara as an unsuitable choice. To him, she was the only person who made him feel truly alive. To ease the tension, Ethan did something he'd never done before. He joined Amara's art class. One Saturday afternoon, he showed up at the Harlem Community Center, dressed in a simple shirt and jeans, trying to blend in. The kids stared curiously, some whispering, "Is that guy super rich?" Amara, initially surprised, couldn't help but smile as Ethan clumsily wielded a paintbrush, creating an abstract mess of colors. "Come on, I thought you were a tech genius," Amara teased, standing behind him with her arms crossed. Ethan shrugged, feigning confidence. "This is a masterpiece, okay? Picasso would be jealous." The kids burst into laughter, and the room buzzed with energy. Though hopeless at painting, Ethan shone when talking to the children. He listened to their dreams of becoming artists, astronauts, or engineers, and encouraged them with a sincerity that surprised Amara. In that moment, she saw a different Ethan, not the cold Silicon Valley tycoon, but a man craving connection and purpose. After class, they strolled through Morningside Park, where golden leaves fell under the sunset. They paused by a bench, and Ethan suddenly took her hand. "You know," he said, his voice low and rough, "I never thought I'd find anything more meaningful than code and numbers. But then I met you, and everything changed." Amara's heart melted, but she couldn't shake her fears. "Ethan, your world, it's not mine. People are talking about us, and not everyone's kind." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Let them talk. I don't care what they think. I only care about you." His words, though heartfelt, couldn't fully erase Amara's unease. That night, a text from an old friend jolted her. "Amara, be careful. I heard his company's in trouble because of this. Don't let your heart blind you." Ethan faced his own challenges. A reporter from a major outlet requested an interview about his controversial relationship. Ethan declined, But the pressure mounted. He began to realize that his feelings for Amara weren't just personal. They were threatening the image he'd built over years. A week later, Ethan invited Amara to his Upper West Side penthouse, a lavish space with views of the Hudson River. Amara, though prepared, was stunned by its grandeur: glass walls, minimalist furniture, and a white grand piano in the living room. But instead of showing off, Ethan was endearingly awkward. He insisted on cooking for her, a sweet but disastrous attempt. His risotto burned, setting off the smoke alarm with a piercing wail. Amara laughed, pulling him from the kitchen. "You're an absolute disaster," she said, her eyes full of affection. They ordered pizza and sat on the living room floor, eating and talking like old friends. In that moment, there was no class divide, no judging eyes, just them, and a closeness they both wanted to hold on to forever. But when Amara left, the ache of longing returned. She thought of their moments together, his laughter, his clumsiness, his sincerity, and realized she was falling in love. But this love, as beautiful as it was, came with a cost. She wondered if she had the courage to face his world, or if she'd be swept away by the coming storm. Ethan, alone in his empty penthouse, couldn't sleep. He stared out at the twinkling city lights, but all he saw was Amara's smile. He knew he stood at a crossroads: protect his empire or dive into a love that could change his life forever. As whispers from the media and society grew louder, both Amara and Ethan felt the weight of watching eyes. Would their love be strong enough to withstand these challenges, or would it crumble under the pressure of an unforgiving world? In the days following her visit to Ethan's penthouse, Amara felt her heart torn in two. His smile, his clumsy laughter over the burnt risotto, and his earnest eyes replayed in her mind like a melody she couldn't silence. But alongside the joy was a growing fear. The gossip articles, the whispers on social media, and her friends' warning echoed. Don't let your heart blind you. Amara began to question whether her love for Ethan was worth the cost, not just to her quiet life, but to the career and reputation Ethan had built over years. She didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want to be the reason his company faltered or for him to be criticized for an unsuitable choice. So, in a sleepless night, Amara made a heart-wrenching decision. She would step back. She would protect Ethan by leaving him, even if it meant tearing her own heart apart. The next morning, Amara went to the Velvet Room and submitted her resignation. Her manager, Charlie, asked in shock, "Amara, are you sure? You're the soul of this place." But she only offered a sad smile and said, "I need time to find myself again." She didn't mention Ethan, but deep down, she knew she was trying to protect them both. Amara cut off all contact with Ethan. She ignored his texts, didn't answer his calls, and avoided social media to escape the articles about them. She moved in temporarily with a friend in Brooklyn, far from Harlem and the places that might remind her of Ethan. But the longing didn't let her go. Each night, she lay on a small bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment Ethan shielded her from the rain or his awkward brushstrokes in her art class. She wondered if she'd done the right thing or was merely punishing herself. Meanwhile, Ethan spiraled into confusion and pain. He visited the Velvet Room every evening, hoping to catch Amara behind the bar, only to be gently told by Charlie that she'd quit. He called, leaving countless voicemails, from light-hearted quips to desperate pleas. "Amara, please, just tell me you're okay. I don't care about anything else." But they went unanswered. Her silence was a knife to his heart. Ethan tried to find her. He asked her friends in Harlem, visited the community center where she taught art, but no one knew where she was. Some whispered she'd left the city. Others looked at him with pity. Ethan, who always controlled everything in his tech world, felt powerless for the first time. He blamed himself. Had he pushed her away by pulling her into his world too fast? Had he failed to shield her from the judging eyes? At Nexus Innovations, the pressure intensified. Shareholders criticized his distractions, claiming they were affecting stock prices. A new article appeared, its headline cruel: "Billionaire Caldwell loses focus for love?" Ethan read it in his office, slamming his fist on the desk. He didn't care about stocks or reputation. He just wanted Amara back. But instead of drowning in despair, Ethan acted. Inspired by Amara, he shifted Nexus Innovations' focus to community-driven tech projects, from free educational apps for kids to AI solutions for nonprofits. He wanted to prove, to Amara and himself, that he wasn't just a profit-driven billionaire. He wanted to be the man Amara believed in, someone who lived for a greater purpose. Months passed, and the longing became an unfillable void. Amara, now working part-time at a small Brooklyn bookstore, tried to find balance. She painted at night, creating vibrant yet melancholic canvases. One painting, born on a rainy evening, depicted a couple under an awning, holding hands beneath a streetlight. She called it Stolen Moment, and each time she looked at it, tears fell. Then, on a crisp late autumn afternoon, fate brought them back together. Needing fresh air to soothe her soul, Amara wandered to Morningside Park, where she and Ethan had once paused by a wooden bench. She walked slowly, breathing in the scent of fallen leaves and cool air, trying to push away memories of him. But when she looked up, she saw a familiar figure under an old oak, gazing at the lake. It was Ethan. He wore a simple wool coat, his hair tousled by the wind, his eyes heavy with sadness. He didn't see her at first, but Amara's heart pounded. She wanted to turn away, to run, but her feet wouldn't move. Amara. Ethan's voice trembled as he finally noticed her. He rushed toward her, his eyes lighting up like he'd found a beacon in the dark. Ethan, Amara whispered, her voice choking. She wanted to explain, to say she left for his sake, to keep from ruining his life. But before she could speak, Ethan pulled her into a tight embrace. She felt his warmth, his familiar woody cologne, and the trembling in his arms. "I thought I'd lost you forever," he whispered, his voice breaking. Tears streamed down Amara's cheeks, and she realized she was crying too. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice faltering. "I thought leaving was the only way to protect you." Ethan pulled back, looking into her eyes. "Protect me? Amara, you're the only thing I want to hold on to. I don't care about the company, the media, or anyone else. As long as I have you, I have everything." In that moment, under the golden sunset, they shared a kiss filled with tears, longing, and hope. It wasn't just a reunion, but a vow to never let the world tear them apart again. "We'll face everything together," Ethan said, gripping her hand. "No more running." Amara nodded, tears still falling, but her smile brighter than ever. "No more running," she echoed. They sat on the familiar wooden bench, hand in hand, watching the sun dip below Manhattan's skyline. The world outside still brimmed with judging eyes, but this time, they knew their love was stronger than any storm. Ethan told her about the changes at Nexus, his dream of building a better world inspired by her. Amara shared about her painting's stolen moment, promising to show it to him someday. As night fell, they left the park, walking side by side, no longer two separate worlds, but a couple determined to write their own story. They vowed never to lose each other again, and in their hearts, it was the most sacred promise of all. A year after their tearful reunion in Morningside Park, Amara and Ethan had found their own rhythm in love. Gone were the days of running or silence. They were now a team, facing the world with authenticity and courage. The judging eyes of the media and society lingered, but they no longer had the power to shake their hearts. Amara and Ethan had learned to turn whispers into fuel to live true to themselves. Amara returned to Harlem, but not to the Velvet Room. Instead, she opened a small art studio called Free Brushstrokes at the community center. It wasn't just a place to teach kids to paint. It was a space for everyone, from children to seniors, to explore themselves through art. Amara often stood in the colorful room, guiding students with her radiant smile, her eyes glowing with the same fire as ever. She still painted at night, and her painting's stolen moment now hung proudly in the studio, a reminder of her and Ethan's journey. Ethan, meanwhile, had redefined success. Under his leadership, Nexus Innovations was no longer just a profit-driven tech giant. Inspired by Amara, he launched Nexus for Good, an initiative focused on using technology to uplift underserved communities. One of the first projects was a free learning app for kids in disadvantaged areas, designed with vibrant visuals inspired by Amara's paintings. The project's success wasn't just technical, it brought smiles to thousands of children, which Ethan considered his greatest victory. One spring afternoon, Amara and Ethan hosted a community event at her studio. It was an art festival, with kids from Harlem and nearby areas displaying their paintings while Ethan showcased Nexus's new learning app. The air buzzed with laughter, color, and the smell of fresh cookies Amara had baked. She'd banned Ethan from the kitchen after the risotto disaster. In the midst of the crowd, Ethan stepped onto a small stage, holding a microphone with the endearing awkwardness Amara had come to love. "I'm not great at talking about feelings," he began, earning chuckles from the room. "But I want to thank someone who changed my life. Amara, you taught me that true wealth isn't in money. It's in the moments we share, the smiles we spark, and the love we build." He turned to Amara, who stood in the corner, her face flushing with surprise. Ethan stepped down, knelt on one knee, and pulled a small box from his pocket. It wasn't a flashy diamond ring, but a simple silver one, etched with a leaf, a symbol of new beginnings, inspired by Morningside Park. "Amara Jones," Ethan said, his voice trembling but resolute, "you're the reason I wake up smiling every day. Will you marry me?" The room erupted in cheers and applause as Amara, tears in her eyes, nodded without hesitation. "Yes, you clumsy genius," she whispered, pulling him into a tight embrace. They kissed amid the children's laughter and the happy tears of those around them. After the event, they strolled through Morningside Park, their favorite ritual. Under the sunset, they sat on their familiar wooden bench, hand in hand. Amara rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "You know," Ethan said, his voice warm, "I used to think I had everything. But now I know everything started when I found you." Amara smiled, tracing the ring on her finger. "And I thought love was a luxury I could never afford. But you proved me wrong." They gazed at the shimmering lake, where the last sunlight sparkled like jewels. Their love, though tested by storms, now stood firm like the park's old oak. Ethan continued leading Nexus with a mission to inspire hope, while Amara used art to ignite dreams. Together, they didn't just build a life, they created a legacy of connection and compassion, proving that true love could change the world.